What is going on, everyone? It is Rob and Jonny. Welcome back to the MMArcade podcast, episode 32. Rob, what's going on, bro?
32, it's a return. It's episode 1. I'm not counting the other one. So it's 2024, episode 1. So let's try and, I'm back. We're back.
Yeah. How do you feel, man? How do you feel after everything?
You can probably hear it, but I'm sick as a dog. Like, you will not believe it. So fight day a week ago, I woke up with the flu. So I woke up like getting chills, sore throat, and but I was kind of fortunate in a way because everyone knows like when you get sick, day one's usually not as bad as like day 3 or 4, and that's what happened when I got home. Like it was, honest to God, this is the worst I've ever felt. Like the sickest I've ever been. Must have been a combination of like post-fight, post-weigh-in, immune system just plummeting.
Wow.
So, but still here. Still kicking.
So you're literally saying that when you fought Costa, you were sick or in the process of getting very, very sick?
Yeah, I was in the process of getting sick,
Crazy.
Yeah, so maybe he'll get sick too. Maybe I'll pass it on to him. I don't know how it works. But yeah, no, I was crook. But like I said, it was day 1.
Yeah.
And at that point, like, I don't know if you saw a lot of the things I was talking about. I was talking about headspace and just getting my mind on track with that warrior's mentality, that zero quit mentality.
Yeah.
That mentality of old. And yeah, there was no level of sickness that was going to stop me from fighting that day.
No, that's sick, dude. I mean, I'm not forcing him, by the way, to do the podcast today. He's willingly here recording.
Yeah.
But we've got a bunch to talk about. Of course, we are, because we didn't do the episode last week with Rob returning. We are going to talk about UFC 298, talk about his fight, Volk's fight. We're going to briefly go over the recent fight night where we had Moreno versus Royval and a bunch of other stuff like usual. So if you are new to the channel, please do like the video, subscribe. But let's start off, Rob, talking about UFC 298 and your fight against Paulo Costa. You're the best person in the world, man, to break it down. How did you feel it went?
Yeah, so I guess leading into the fight, I put a lot of pressure on myself, and you probably heard it from a lot of the interviews as well as what I spoke about it myself, because of how bad the fight prior went, because of how bad I felt, and because of some things I didn't like. I really wanted to do a 180 and just do a complete reset on this on the last fight.
Right.
So a big part of that was just getting into the mentality. It was about, I mentioned before that I had loosened the grip on the reins a little bit, and I wanted to take them back up, and every session was about that. It was about reinforcing my mentality. And you saw fight week itself, the weigh-ins, the media, the face-offs, everything was business. It was all about the fight. It was all about just knowing, like setting up what you're doing. And that in itself puts a lot of pressure. Like it was self-imposed pressure, obviously, but it puts a lot of pressure on your performance and on the result, because to make so many changes and you want it to mean something, and that can only really be validated by having a successful, venture. But, I did everything that we wanted to do. I came into the fight heavy. I don't know if I looked bigger. Looking back, I didn't look any bigger, but I was a kilo heavier than I had been prior. So, everything was picture perfect. Coming to fight day, the headspace was just on point. I mentioned it a lot to a lot of other people, just that my resolve for that fight. And I don't know if you could see the mentality and the resolve. It was just, it was at another level. I had complete control of it. And honestly, the only way I was leaving that octagon without a win was in a body bag. Like that's the mentality I had going into that fight. And I feel like I can see it in myself when I watch the fight back, but I'm biased. I was there, so I know how it feels, sort of thing. What do you think of the fight?
Dude, I thought you were a monster in that fight, and especially. I shared my opinions in a video on the channel, and I admitted that I was biased, right? And I admit that I am biased right now when I'm saying it. But aside from that, scary moment in the first round, and I don't know how you recovered from that, because that kick, his kicks all night were coming out of nowhere, bro. I couldn't even see it on the TV, right? It was just like anime style flash kick. It was at your head in the matter of seconds. But after that moment, and you recovered, and you just kept going in with the jab, with the combos, you were destroying his calf. And I thought the commentators weren't doing you justice either. But that first round, I still thought you won it, because aside from the last 10 seconds, whatever it was, you were dominating the whole round. I didn't understand.
I don't understand judging at all, but watching it back, I was piecing him up that round. Obviously, that kick was significant.
Yeah.
But I recovered, and it was like, I recovered. I don't know how that gives him the entire round, but
look, there was that one judge that did give it to you, because it was funny when they were reading out the results. As soon as they said 30-27, I was like, oh, well, then Rob's clearly won it. There was clearly, I said this at the time, if there is just one judge that gives that first round, then for sure you've won that fight. But honestly, man, you did so well. And I think what people were also a little bit surprised about, because he hasn't fought in a while, was how good Costa was, right? Costa was he was a tank. He was taking so many of your hits, and he kept coming back, and you still got over him. It was an awesome fight, man, especially after your previous fight with Drickus and seeing how your mentality shifted, man. I think everyone was just happy to see you back on top. Yeah, man. I was mentioning it in the fight week leading into it, that I've prepared for the best version of Costa, and I obviously I say this and I prepare for it, but man, I'm hoping I get the worst version. Yeah,
of course. Dude, I'm hoping I get a lethargic, lazy, tired, sick version of Costa that comes in. But dude rocks up his best self.
Dude,
that was in my opinion, and it's upsetting because that was the best version of Costa. His kicks, his speed surprised me. He was much faster than I thought he would be. That I think he's actually shown in other fights. And that was his best version. And I still beat him. But everyone's talking about how good he looked.
I honestly, that's been a lot of the discussion. Yeah.
So don't do me like that, bro. You were your best version. I still beat you, right? Oh man, but. Props to him. I think that version of Costa, mate, he beats a lot of guys. Dude,
I honestly think that it's just the biggest compliment to you as well. The fact is that everyone was really impressed by Costa, his preparation. He hadn't fought, was it 2 years or so? He obviously had that injury beforehand. The fact that he came back and fought like that and you still won, I think that's the biggest compliment to you. Because everyone agreed. Yeah. The vast majority of people that I saw, agreed that you won. It was just down to that first round, and probably more people thought that Costa won that first round. I disagree with that, but still overall, the opinion was that you won the fight.
Yeah, I disagree too, but I with that kick, for one, I've never been spinning heel kicked in my life, right? So that was out of nowhere. His kicks were fast in that first round, man, very fast.
Yeah,
but I don't know. Everyone in comments, in any comment anywhere, especially after the Drickus fight, it's like Whittaker's chin's gone. He's a wash, mate. My chin's back. I don't know where it went on vacation, but it's back, dude. He's come back and he's clocked in because man, that kick should have killed me. But mate,
it would have knocked a lot of other people out, man. It was so powerful, so quick.
Yeah, and I just I did recover. Obviously, it was a good shot.
Yeah.
But I was coherent the whole time through it. I remember it. I remember fighting back after landing the kick, and I remember walking to the seat, to the stool, recovering, and then starting that next round fired up, ready to go again. You know what's
funny? One of the comments that I saw that I laughed at was someone talked about the head kick and how dominant it was. And then this guy was just like, yeah, but did you see Rob calmly drinking water in between the round? It did really seem like you came back and composed yourself very, very quickly. And then that second round was freaking awesome from you. So
Yeah.
I'm glad that you recovered from it, man. Because as I said, I think a lot of people in that position probably would have been knocked out.
No, mate, so am I. So am I, Johnny. I'm happy. Okay. But no, it was a hard fight. And I take a lot of pride in fights like the one I had because mate, they're showstoppers. They're fun to watch. Everyone loves watching them. We're just throwing two big dudes just throwing leather, man.
Yeah, yeah.
And I don't know. Like, I feel like in those hard fights, you can really sense the soul of the fighters competing. And I hope everyone enjoyed it. Okay.
Sure.
I am filthy. I didn't get fight of the night, but
I agree.
Dude,
I agree, man.
dirty ass.
I do want to ask you.
It was a good fight, man.
It was a good fight. I think fight of the night would have been friggin' awesome. But I do want to ask you, right? And I'm not too sure if you've talked about this anywhere, but next fight, who could you eye off? Because there is one name that literally everyone, it's a unanimous, call here. Everyone is saying that you should fight this person, but who do you think it should be next?
Well, I'm angling towards the gold. I want to reclaim my belt, and I would love to run it back with Dricus, especially because he's got the gold as well. It's 2-1, right?
Right.
But I do understand that Strickland is in line, like in the sights a little bit. Everyone's talking about him a lot. He's at the top. And that kind of gives me the path to the gold that I'm longing for.
100%.
So I'm not really fussed on the opponent at the moment or on the names. I do want someone that pushes me towards the gold, but less than the opponent itself is the date that I'm after. And I want to fight in August because I heard there is that the UFC potentially is coming back to Australia in August.
Yeah, hell yeah.
So I've heard maybe potential Perth. So, mate, August is about 5-6 months from now. Perfect timing for me. It is. It's obviously in Australia, home soil.
Yeah.
Whether Volk, and we can talk about Volk's fight, whether Volk is going to headline that card or not. I'm happy to step up to the plate and just, I guess, to bring the UFC on home soil and put on a show for my major fan base.
Hell yeah, dude. No, honestly, we're all stoked. We're all stoked in the comments as well to see that you won. Very, very keen to see who you fight next. If I was to pick it as well, it would probably be Sean, but let's see how the timing works out. You mentioned Volk, though. Let's talk about Volk versus Ilia Topuria, man. I'm just going to ask it straight out. Sorry, yeah. What did you think of that fight?
Mate, I don't know. I don't know what to say. I was thinking leading up into the fight, right, that Volk was doing a lot of things with, like, obviously he dressed the way he did, and it was funny as hell.
It's funny as everything. That was awesome, man.
Right. He's obviously doing a lot of media stuff around it. His crew and his back, his team and everything is massive. He walked out with Zuckerberg, I think.
Crazy.
Like, it's massive. But I can't help but feel like you get distracted, And I was thinking this leading into the fight, like, dude's an animal. To have this many things going on around him and then to get in there and perform the way he does, animal, different breed. But then he obviously had a hard loss. Yeah. So but then maybe he does this every fight. So I don't know. I can't speak on that. But that's just one thing I was thinking, right? Secondly, mate, Topuria's an animal. He's a weapon of a fighter. Honestly. Like, I've always thought he's got good hands and he's got good wrestling and jiu-jitsu as well. I don't know if anyone's seen it, but, like, I think that's his background. Yeah, but his hands are just so good.
Yeah.
I don't know. I thought Volk was having a lot of success with his kicks. I thought the kicking angle was the right angle, but I felt like he just wasn't getting any respect from Topuria, really. He wasn't getting the respect he needed to create space, to give him the distance, to kind of dictate the pace that he wants, that he does. I feel like Volk has such success when he's kind of dictating the pace of the fight, when he's the one pushing the fight where he wants to go, when he's got some level of threat and respect from his punches and from his presence. And Topuria was just kind of pushed into him. He was just not giving him that respect. And if anything, demanding respect from his punches. He was having such success with that overhand over the top of his jab, like over and over and over. And not to mention the cheeky, tight hook that hit Volk, that put him out. It's because, mate, Topuria hits like a truck, dude.
Dude, he has... If there was any doubts before, and there shouldn't have been, the dude has real bloody knockout power. It was funny because when I watched in the moment watching that first round, right, I was definitely like, oh, Volk won that round. Volk did pretty good. He looked pretty good. And then we saw what happened in the second. But then thinking back on it in hindsight and rewatching that first round, Ilia was just biding his time. As you said, he was the one dictating things. He was putting the pressure on. And then Volk, it's easy saying this, hindsight's 2020, and Volk will probably say the same thing. He got caught up against the back of the cage and he had nowhere else to go. And maybe in hindsight, he would have, taken that a little bit differently with his footwork. He would have tried to get out of there. But there's only so much that you can do when there's someone like that. He just he's so quick. He's so accurate with his punches. And if it wasn't going to be that right, it would have been that left. As Volk was falling, that left probably would have knocked him out as well if the right didn't land. Ilia's an animal, man. He's an absolute animal. And I was shocked. A lot of people, your reaction was caught on camera. I don't know in the moment if you actually saw the punch or you just saw Ilia walking away, but everyone was shocked. Everyone was surprised.
Yeah. Because Volk's got chin, man. I think by the last two fights, he's been able to take shots from the best of them. And mate, Topuria, it wasn't like a funny TKO. It was like a proper
He was gone, cold.
And Topuria's so good at those tight-knit, in-the-pocket hooks, power punches. They're not for show. They're not for volume. They hurt you. And, mate, that's just... Mate, the game's a harsh mistress, man.
Yeah.
And it sucks to say, congratulations to Topuria. I think maybe we might have the next generation. Maybe an era has turned.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of the MMA community is so fickle sometimes, man. They are such heartless dogs, man, because straight away, Volk's a wash. Volk's done. Volk's too old. Everyone's just, mate, the MMA community is just a bit rough. You guys need to have a good hard look at yourself sometimes. Because we're guys just putting our bodies on the line, our souls out there to witness.
Yeah.
For you guys to enjoy. And I don't think – I think some of the negative comments could be pulled back a little bit. Just pull your punches a little bit because we are just people at the end of the day, and this is from me who won. Some of the comments still suck. So I can only imagine what someone, on the other end of the stick, because the truth is, on a fight day, half the guys rock up win and half the guys that rock up lose. That's just how it is. Yeah. And it is a tough sport. You can do everything right and still lose because there is an element that is actively working against you. And that is crazy. It's I think a lot of the fans don't realize that level of pressure. It's you can have high pressure stakes, which is you go to a function and do a presentation in front of 300 of your co-workers. Okay. Obviously that's a high pressure situation. Or you go to a meeting where the stakes are, you need to deliver this speech in this report or make the sale and get a new client, yada, yada, yada. There's high pressure stakes. But in a lot of these situations, you don't have an element of where the guy is actually working against you. Everything you're trying to build and do, they want to rip down and stop you. And that is the unknown factor. That's why I think these games are like these fights are so hard. So, I'm going on a tangent.
No, it's
Be
all
nice,
good.
guys. We're on a massive tangent. Sorry, I'm sick.
But this is the thing, right? And I know it's probably been a good source of a lot of the negative discussions or just general discussions about Volk's fight. Everything is going back to whether he should have taken that fight with Islam Makhachev, right? And again, I keep saying hindsight is 2020. Should he have done it? Probably not. And the big question is, how much did that affect this fight against Ilia Topuria? This is what I'll say. I don't think that it's the loss against Islam Makhachev, even though he was knocked out, was actually that determinative in this fight. Because in that exact same scenario, do you think Topuria wouldn't have knocked Volk out, whether or not he fought Islam? I think it's a little bit, it's maybe not disrespectful is the right word, but it downplays what Ilia did. I think he would have done that whether he fought Islam or not. That's my honest opinion. And we don't know. You can never be like, oh, if he fought Islam or if he didn't fight Islam, what's going to happen? The fact is that he did. He said that he was at his best. He was at a full fight camp. I was listening to a lot of the stuff as he was training and as he was talking to the media. He looked good. He sounded good. That was the typical Volk that we saw. And then he lost, and that's why the fight game goes. I agree that people shouldn't be so negative, but Ilia Topuria is the real deal when it comes to that.
Yeah. Now, I'm going to disagree with you on that.
Go on.
And I don't want to come across like I'm downplaying Ilia. I think he is phenomenal, phenomenal. And honestly, going into the fight, I thought if there is a guy that could beat Volk at his best, it's going to be Topuria.
For sure.
But I know personally, without a shadow of a doubt, that fight and loss against Makhachev does affect you. It did affect him moving forward, because coming off a loss affects your next fight, whether you like it or not. Going into this fight with Costa, the last loss affected me. I think I could have performed better against Costa if I didn't have the nerves of losing the fight before and wanted to change everything up.
Yeah.
And if you can't expect Volk to get in there and not be thinking, okay, I don't want to get knocked out. Okay, I can't let this happen. I can't let a loss happen. I need to change what happened last fight. You can't, obviously you can try and convince yourself, but it's there,
Yeah.
I say this only from my personal experience. Like I said, the Costa fight, I can fight better than that, than when I fought Costa. I can do much better than that. But I think that's the best I could have done at that time.
Yeah.
And it was the same thing when I fought Darren Till after my break and after my loss against Adesanya. It's like I feel like I could have fought Till better, but that was the best I could fight Till then. And I feel, I don't know if the answer is a longer time off would help him against Topuria. Like I said, I think best version of Volk, so we scrap out that loss. I think best version of Volk has a hard fight against Topuria. I think Topuria is an absolute animal.
Yeah.
Reminds me of like a younger Volk, to be honest. But that Makhachev fight impacted the Topuria fight without a shadow of a doubt, in my opinion.
So speaking of breaks then, I think there's no doubt that Volk will get another title opportunity. You don't have someone as dominant as he was in a division, being a company man like he said, and not get an immediate rematch. It's almost certainly going to happen. When should that happen for him? Is it Australia? Because they're talking about Ilia potentially, doing this card in Spain. He was just presented in front of Real Madrid and Sevilla. He is becoming this huge star. They want to put him in a card in Spain, which would be, I think, the first time they've ever been in the country. What does Volk do next? Should he take some significant time off?
The problem is he's 35, right?
Yeah.
I think he turns 36 this year.
Yeah.
He's been knocked out severely twice in 6 months. That mate, he needs time off. but how much time can he get? How much time can he have while the biological clock is ticking? You know?
Yeah.
It's tricky. He's in a tricky position right now. I think he should have an immediate rematch, but I don't think now's the time to do it. And if he doesn't do it now, then I don't think they'll give it to him.
That's a good point. Yeah. Because Ilia needs to fight. Like, they're not going to waste his opportunity.
Well, and UFC love they've been a great company to work with, but they have stories they want to build. And the Topuria story is the one. It's a changing of the era, the changing of the guard. It's Ilia Topuria's story now, and that's what they're working towards. Because Volk's kind of played out in their opinions, like in their mind, in their story maker's mind,
right?
In my opinion, okay. So this could all be wrong, but this is how I feel, and you see that a lot when belts change hands, especially after a guy that has held the belt for a decent amount of time. Yeah, man.
I mean, dude, it's obviously just from a marketing perspective. Yeah, you have a new champ. It gives you new storylines to run with, new promos to work with, and Ilia's social media team is good enough on their own. The UFC is going to take the ball and run with it. But I think what is key is that he is literally the Spain's first UFC champion from memory.
Yeah, he was a huge superstar before getting the belt.
100%.
And now he's got the belt. It's like doubled. His profile's huge in Spain right now. Like, he's collabing with like Madrid. Come on,
dude. He had like Rafael Nadal and Casillas like out on videos congratulating him or wishing him good luck. He was on the front cover of Marca, like the biggest magazine in Spain. And then, as I said, he was presented in front of Sevilla and Real Madrid at a football game. That's next level of notoriety. Yeah. That's next level. And the UFC would be crazy not to take advantage of it, to literally run a card at the Bernabeu in Madrid sometime this year. And whether Volk can fight or not, it's going to happen, in my opinion. So who does he go against? Like, who the hell knows? He's calling out a million people. But for sure, I agree with your assessment of Volk. And he maybe 6 months he needs to take off, but then does he fight Ilia next? Who knows?
Yeah. I don't have an answer. He's in a tough spot, mate.
Yeah. But to wrap up UFC 298, I do want to talk quickly about Merab Dvalishvili against Henry Cejudo. Rob, what did you think of that fight?
Hey, Merab mauled Cejudo, dude. Mauled the hell out of him, disrespected him with wrestling. Wrestling betrayed Cejudo, dude. Yeah, man. Yeah. Like, what else can you say? I think, like, obviously Dvalishvili got rocked in that first round.
He did.
And we've seen that happen before. But if you don't get him out of there, he's going to get you.
Yeah.
It's a matter of time. But in saying that, if we look at him, say, versus O'Malley, where O'Malley is such a sniper with his hands.
Yeah.
I would have to say, like, tricky matchup. But in terms of his fight against Cejudo, mate, straight up mauled Cejudo. I had him as a favorite because I don't know. I think Cejudo's better when he's lighter, when he's like back in the flyweights. I don't think he was as good as like when he was in the heavyweight division.
For sure. I was hoping that he would maul him, and he did. As you mentioned, he almost got caught. I think it was in the first round. That sequence, I mentioned this in a video, was almost punch for punch the exact same as what happened with Moraes back in the day, and he almost got clipped. I do worry that it's obviously the next fight to make against O'Malley. In that same situation, I think O'Malley could actually knock Merab out. And as you mentioned, if he doesn't do it in the first round, or maybe even the second round, Dvalishvili, his cardio, his relentlessness, he's just going to keep going after O'Malley. That's the one thing, though, that he needs to be careful of, is going in a little bit too crazily and getting clipped, because that was Cejudo. Imagine if that was O'Malley in that situation.
Yeah, and O'Malley's got a lot of range. He's got the timing, and I think his kicks will play a big part in keeping Merab at bay. You know, and they'll be effective too. So because Merab's very hittable until his opponents get tired and he starts having his way with him. Obviously, if he engages in the wrestling, it's good for him. But yeah, you know, I'm interested in that. Congratulations, Merab.
For sure. So that was UFC 298. There were a lot of other fights, but we're going to try and move on to now talking about UFC Fight Night that just took place. We saw Moreno against Roval. We saw Yair against Brian Ortega. Rob, what were your opinions on just the card itself and all the fights that you saw?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not going to speak too much on it because when the fight was on, I was delirious. I had Moreno winning, to be honest. I thought Moreno, like, I didn't think he won, but I had him winning until they said Royval.
It's confusing because they're both branded, so you didn't know.
Yeah. It was close enough though to it is what it is sort of thing, right?
Yeah.
But you know, one thing I want to point out is the Ortega win. Like that's a fight that stood out to me even through my delirious haze of sickness. Is that, mate, Ortega obviously fought through adversity in the first round. Got dropped like twice or three times in the first round. Rolled his ankle in the announcement.
That was the funniest thing I've seen in my life. Honest to God.
Mate, the world was like, we're going to stack the odds against you today. Right? But then, mate, kept pushing forward and then got the submission. And then what I really want to highlight is his interviews afterwards. Like, he went through a dark space and really found himself and found his spirit and found, you know, his soul. And that hit me because it is so, like, congratulations on winning, right? But congratulations on finding yourself and having success after it because it validates everything, right? And I don't know. I thought that was such a good thing for the guy because he's only like 32.
Yeah.
He's only like 32. So he's got so much mileage left on him and he seems to be in a really good space right now.
Yeah. Especially he was out for so long. From memory, he lost against Yair previously. He was out for a few years or whatever it was. For him to come back like he did and to push through that first round where Yair was a menace, I was so impressed with Brian. I was so impressed with him. And he practiced that exact same arm triangle choke. It's like that's exactly what he was going to do. For him to come out in that second, do what he did, and then choke him out in the third, it's such an impressive win, man. Like, he's back in the discussion in terms of title contention. A lot of people were saying before this fight, why the hell is Brian Ortega still ranked 4th in that division? I think that's what his ranking was. That's why. Because he's still a top fighter. He's still a top contender in the division.
He's an animal. And his submission game is so good, dude. Yeah. Like, so good. I feel like the time off he had, people forgot how good it is. Like,
for sure.
Which makes you think, Volk getting out of that guillotine, hey.
Oh, dude.
Unreal. Dude. Like, Ortega's so good. Submissions, man.
But speaking quickly about Moreno and Royval, honestly, man, like, I don't know how I feel about that fight because I think that Royval did win. I think the judge that went into Moreno's favor was a bit too aggressive in it. But I just didn't know how I felt about the fight. Royval is undoubtedly, like, he throws so many punches. He's so quick. But he landed like 28% of them. I don't know how I feel about that fight, dude, honestly. Maybe I'm a little bit down on that division at the moment. It was fine.
Yeah. I didn't feel hunger from those guys.
No.
You know what I mean? I didn't feel like vehemence behind anything. I didn't feel that violence in the fight. You know, it's not saying I wasn't there. Maybe I just didn't see it. Like I said, I was in a delirious haze. I was sitting here watching it like this. But
poor dude.
I had Moreno winning, but I'm not upset that Royval won. I guess because, like, I can see him winning too. That's why it was a split decision. It was a close fight.
Yeah.
Close fight.
I will just. I think I'm looking forward to seeing Amir Albazi kind of like mix up that division a little bit.
Yep.
But yeah, that was UFC fight night. Rob, we also got a little bit of news that we're going to go through now. So first of all, going back to Paulo Costa, he is accused Khamzat Chimaev of avoiding fights. And it's been a big discussion point lately. I think just generally for fighters, but especially for Khamzat. He used to have this aura of, oh, no one wants to fight me. Everyone's backing down. But that seems to be switching up a little bit, especially with rumors saying that Leon Edwards was offered to fight Chimaev. Leon said yes, and Khamzat, clearly I think he said no, but maybe it was because he was fighting during Ramadan. But Paulo Costa said he needs to stop running. He needs to have the balls and face me for a long, long time. This guy just avoids these fights. He has no balls. If the guy's not pushing him, he has no balls to fight him. He wants to fight easy fights. He doesn't want to fight guys like me or Robert Whittaker or someone else like that. He wants to fight guys with no wrestling, no jiu-jitsu game, no grappling, something like that, no balls. I don't know how true that is. I mean, he did just fight Kamaru and different weight class, and he was coming off a loss. But how do you feel about what Paulo Costa just said?
Right. I don't want to say anything bad because like he kind of used me in a positive light context sort of thing.
He did, didn't he?
but I do feel like it's the pot calling the kettle black, right?
Yeah, a little bit.
Like, yeah, I don't know. I don't know what Chimaev's doing. Like, can't get a grip on what he's doing. I don't know whether he's a welterweight. I don't know whether he's a middleweight. I don't know.
Dude, he's got such a problem because I don't know why he can't fight in the US. Like, and we're talking about this guy.
I know he can't fight in certain countries and stuff like that. But
the US is huge though, right? Like, imagine he became champ in any division. How the hell do you have a champ that can't fight in the US?
I don't know.
Actually insane, man. But next up, though, we've got Henry Cejudo. So he said that before his fight that he was going to retire if he lost against Merab. And he wasn't given any other opportunity to retire in the ring. Dana said it was Merab's moment, so that's why he didn't want to do it. But then lo and behold, Cejudo is not retiring. He's called out Brandon Moreno for a UFC 306 fight. What do you think about Cejudo not retiring?
Cejudo's full of shit, dude. That's all I'm gonna say. He's full of shit. Like he says one thing, does another. Like that's just the narrative he's lived by lately.
I don't know what's he doing. Like he even had that thing. Go on.
I don't think coming back and quitting after a couple of losses is the way to do it anyway. I don't think you should have left the first time.
I agree.
Don't be a quitter. Can't quit on a loss. Can't quit just because it gets hard.
Yeah. I literally, it's my word or the phrase of the podcast, but hindsight's 2020. Yeah. Should he left when he was earning pay-per-view points and all that kind of stuff? Obviously no. And now he's come back and he's lost twice. But he just keeps going back on things. Like, do you remember the thing where he fired his coach and then he said it was a joke? Yeah, but that was pretty much because everyone was so negative.
He's full of crap, dude.
Yeah.
He's full of crap.
But why does he do this? He knows he's a bit goofy as well. I don't know.
Mate, because I don't know. He's I don't know. He's a weird dude, man.
He's an odd bloke, man. But finally, the last piece of news to talk about is, so Movsar has called out Ilia Topuria because Ilia Topuria, obviously just winning the title off of Volk, has called out so many random names and most of them aren't actual contenders in his division. So he wants to fight Conor McGregor. He said he'd love to fight Habib. He wants to do a champ versus champ against Sean O'Malley. And Movsar is pretty much like, look, I think saying what a lot of people are saying, stop calling out other people, not in your division, defend the title a little bit more. But also for his sake, he's saying, I'm the only other undefeated person in this division. You should be fighting people like me. How do you feel about what Ilia has been saying about who he wants to fight next and his kind of future roadmap now that he has the title?
Personally, I think he should defend at least once before he starts doing this stuff.
At least three times, right? Three times.
Literally, dude just became champ. Can do what he wants. Like, doesn't hurt to ask. You don't ask, don't receive.
True.
Right? So, yeah, do what he wants. Like,
he's got to defend it. At least a couple of times.
He does, but we're in a crazy world, dude. The guy's a superstar. Him fighting in Spain is going to be big no matter who he fights.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Well, I think the UFC maybe was hoping, let's say if Yair did win against Ortega, having him against Ilia in Spain, that would have been absolutely huge. But now they've kind of booked themselves into a corner because if Max Holloway loses in his next fight against Gaethje, does that fight against Topuria look as attractive? Probably not. He could win, and then that's the fight to make next. But it's either rematch against Volk, which Volk probably shouldn't do anytime soon. Ortega is in the conversation. Movsar, I think Movsar maybe needs a finish, another fight to be in the conversation. But the division is definitely shooken up. I can understand in some perspectives why Ilia is saying what he's saying. He wants the really, really big fights, and maybe he's just not seeing that in the rest of the division. But he's got so many people that he should fight first.
Yeah. It is moving, though. It is moving.
Yeah. But Rob, 40 minutes. That was the UFC coverage. Hopefully we've done that justice. But
and we cut things out. It's crazy. I told you it's going to take forever.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Rob was
pause.
like,
I have to go bathroom. I'm sorry.
Go bathroom. It was very funny because Rob was like, can this podcast be a little bit shorter? I'm still sick. We could have pushed it back a little bit more. I wasn't pressuring him to do it. Like, I'm literally moving soon, so it's not like, you know, I'm in a rush to try and get back on the podcast. Speaking of which, probably in 2 weeks we might miss that week while I am moving. But yeah, man, I'm just happy to see Rob back. He won. It's horrible that he is sick though. It still boggles my mind that he was probably sick on the day. It reminds me of, what's his name? Raul Rosas Jr. He literally canceled out of his UFC Fight Night fight because he was sick on the day and he couldn't get out of it. Maybe Rob and him had the same thing. I don't know. Something clearly going around. But next up, we are going to do some games news. We are going to talk about what we're watching, playing, /reading, and we've got some viewer questions. So now that Rob's back, Rob, are you feeling all right?
I'm back. We almost lost me, but I'm back.
Almost did. Rob, we've got a couple of things that I know you're going to be keen to talk about. First of all, I don't know if you've played it recently, but Baldur's Gate 3, they've confirmed for Games News that Baldur's Gate 3 is going to be getting mod support. It has at least over 10 million players. What do you feel about that? What do you feel about Baldur's Gate 3 eventually getting full mod support?
Mate, I don't love mods, to be honest. I feel like there's a few games, like, I only really... Just RimWorld. RimWorld's the only game that I mod. Like,
and Skyrim as well. But you mod it and you don't play it. Like all of us.
Yeah. Well, that's it. You go through a mod list, you put 100 mods into it, and then you don't play it. So, I don't know. Don't love mods. So it doesn't really affect me too much. Like, I need to get back into Baldur's Gate 3, but man, I just don't have it in me for such a heavy story.
Yeah.
Like,
do you think you're ever going to go back and play it out of curiosity?
Yes, one day. Like, one day.
Yeah.
Like, right now, I am frothing on Dragon's Dogma 2.
I knew it.
Dude, like I am... The fact that the fight's over and it's going to be at the beginning of the next camp, so it's like I'll have time to play it.
Yeah.
Mate,
what time's it come out? 22nd of March. Hell yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, I was playing with the idea of like going back and playing Dark Arisen.
Yeah.
The first one. But it's too close. Too close.
That's fair.
Too close. I don't want to burn myself out. What if I burn myself out of that style of game before it comes out? But
I saw someone that was playing for the first Dragon's Dogma, and it seems like it's a hard game to go back and play. And it might be beneficial because, like, you know, with Baldur's Gate 3, how many people actually went back and played Baldur's Gate 1 and 2? I think you might be in a good space just to play Dragon's Dogma 2. And if you really like it, you replay the first one. But there are just too many games out at the moment. So I get
so many. As well as, like, it's not here, but I want to bring it up. Big news. Shadow of the Erd Tree.
Oh, no, it is there. I included that. Hold on. There is a viewer question. It's definitely there. Wait, did I include it? Yeah, it is. Yeah. Oh, I definitely have it here. I was tossing up whether to put it into Games News or to use it as someone's viewer question.
So Andre to Guveria, I'm sorry I'm screwing your question up, mate. There's a shout out anyway. Mate, I'm frothing on that as well.
Hell
like so much. Apparently, it's like the size of Limgrave, which is like 60% of the map of the size of the game is like the DLC, which is huge. It's going to add 10 bosses, all like at the level of, say, Melania. So like hard bosses. I can only imagine it's going to add so many different weapons and spells. And I'm holding myself. I don't know whether or not I'll wait till it's out and then do a fresh playthrough from the start, a new guy, or if I start a new guy now and level him up until a certain point and then wait. What do you think I should do?
They said, and I don't know exactly how the system is going to work, and apparently it's based on a similar game, but they pretty much implied it doesn't matter whether you have like a new player or a high-end player, they're going to control the DLC in a way where you're not just going to be able to walk through it if you have a very high-level player. Like there might be like certain attack stats or something like that where you need to progress through the DLC in order to do better at it. I don't know how the hell they're going to do it. There was an article about it. I'll try and find it. But I think either way, you'll be fine. Don't expect to completely walk through it, even if you have a high-end player.
Okay. I might. So I've been itching to make a new guy for a while now. So I think if I can work out whether I want to make a wizard or if I want to make a like Unga Bunga stick dude, I'll play it.
Here we go. So it says here that Elden Ring DLC new combat system will change everything. So it has something to do with your attack power and scaling. So it sounds like, you're pretty much effectively going to start from zero or as close to as possible.
Is that a DLC exclusive thing, or are they going to revamp the entire game?
No, I think it's just a DLC. I think it's just a DLC.
Okay.
Because they were saying power. I'm going to find out for you. So the power system will prevent players from easily breezing through boss battles without challenge. So it has its own power system. It will be independent of the level system in play in the base game and will only be activated within the confines of Elden Ring DLC's areas. And apparently he said it's kind of like Sekiro in that sense.
Don't understand that. I haven't played Sekiro, but I guess.
I think that's a good thing,
I can make
man.
a new character.
I think that's a good thing. Because my plan...
I got about 6 characters, dude.
Yeah. My plan, I never actually ended up finishing Elden Ring. I got this... I found this build for this awesome samurai character with these 2 swords. It was freaking awesome. And then I spec'd out my build. I got it to where I was happy with. And then for some reason, I didn't play it. I'm just going to pick up from there, finish the game, and then I'll see how that character does or that build does. Do you know what I've been listening to lately for some reason, dude? Elden Ring lore videos. It just fascinates me. I think they did such a good job. It's the best.
I like it. I've listened to them all and read up on them all. But I think Elden Ring made it a little more, I don't know how to say it. Maybe, I don't know. If you're a Dark Souls fan, go back and watch the Dark Souls lore videos, and it's just nothing makes sense, but it does a little bit. It's so weird. I think I liked the lore more in Dark Souls, and maybe this is because me personally, as someone who's been a fan of the series and FromSoft, and especially when their lore point of views, I can feel the impact that who's the guy that wrote the story in Elden Ring?
Novel dude.
What's his name? The guy that made the Big Books TV show.
Yeah, I can never remember his name. George R. R. Martin. That's it.
Yeah, him. I can feel Martin's influence in the game.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, I can just feel it. Tell me in the comments below if you guys feel it as well, and if you guys understand like what I'm talking about. It's hard. It's very hard to speak on, but it's. I don't know. Dark Souls. I really liked the Dark Souls 3 lore and universe. Like not just 3, sorry, all of them. Like it was really really cool.
Yeah. So next section, we've got what we're watching / playing / reading. I don't know if you've been able to get up to much while you've been sick, Rob, but
Have you been doing any of that recently?
Well, I guess I can also cover what I was doing overseas, right? So I was playing a fair whack of Enshrouded.
Oh, yeah. I thought you would.
Yeah.
Yep.
That was cool. I'm not playing it anymore. I think melee and range needs to be reworked a little bit because endgame melee builds don't work, period. Like, you try fighting level 30 green dudes, and if you play Shrouded, you know exactly what I'm talking about. In melee, wake up to yourself. It's not happening. Like, it's not happening. And Magic is so overtuned to just melt everything. Like, comparatively, there's no reason to play anything other than Magic because you can't do endgame content without it. So, yeah, I think base building wise, it's probably the best base builder survival game there is. I think it's really, 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 really good. Like, really good. But anyway, got to endgame, kind of gave it up. Jumped into a game called Vagris. It's a mercenary campaign management sort of game. Cool. Hard as hell. Like, I got to a point where I had a bunch of cash, but the game just involved me barely making it to a settlement, buying enough food for my boys, and then barely making it to the next settlement to buy some more food for my boys. Like, it was just mate, there was no progression. I was like, I don't know. I was stuck in a time loop. It just did not work for me.
Yeah.
So I was playing that for a little bit. Jump back into Battle Brothers if you've played that. It's another mercenary sort of game. That was fun too, but I don't know. I got sick of that slow progression as well. And now I'm jumping into RimWorld again.
Back into RimWorld?
That's me, mate. Yeah. What about you?
Oh, dude, I've been playing a lot, surprisingly, recently. So first, I played Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League, smashed that and the main campaign. There's a lot of negativity with that game. I thought, for what it was, I had a fun time with the campaign. It was very, very short. I don't have like this big desire to go through and trying to like grind through the end game and a lot of the stuff that they have planned for it, because I don't know, I just didn't have that spark there for it. It was fun for what it was. For those of you that don't know, it's like an action adventure live service game. I had a lot of fun playing as King Shark, not so much as the other characters. The traversal, especially for Harley Quinn, never really got on board. Deadshot was all right. Yeah, I think it was okay, but the fact is, if it's a live service game and I don't want to keep playing it, and player counts, unfortunately for them, are very low. Warner says it didn't hit their expectations. I don't know what the future of that game is going to be. Maybe if they had really focused on the campaign, like the idea of going through and having to kill the Justice League, it's kind of like, I like that concept. It's a little bit different. It's typical of Suicide Squad. So yeah, I'm a little bit torn on that game. Next up though, Rob, Helldivers 2. I don't know if you've been seeing all the videos going for Helldivers 2. The game is so much fun, man. It is just like, it's a squad-based shooter. You're killing bugs. You're killing robots. I just love the thing, man. I love the whole concept with stratagems and how you have to like press on the D-pad to try and call a strike or a new gun. When you're playing with friends especially, it gets so chaotic. And I think you would really like it. Did you have any intentions of playing Helldivers 2?
I don't have friends, bro.
I mean, look, you don't need... You do play games with friends. You say all the time.
Nah, not really, dude.
You can still do it solo. It just gets hard at higher difficulties. Like, the first few difficulties was fine, and then as soon as I went to hard, I was like, holy crap, I can't do this solo. This is pretty difficult. Yeah. But when you are playing with people, and you can do quick play as well, mind you. You don't need to play with friends. You can match make. It's just awesome. And then you eventually level everything up. You get better guns. You get better modules for your ship. They have a pretty cool battle pass system, and it doesn't feel like it's pay to win. It's the next big hit, man. It's like the 20th most played game on Steam by peak player count. It's just awesome, dude. I seriously reckon that you should give it a go.
Yeah, maybe. There's a lot of other massive games coming out. Plus, I've never been huge into shooters.
Fair.
Like, if a few of my mates get it, and they convince me to get it, I might jump onto it. But as like just me for now, nah, probably
That's
not.
Fair.
And then the final thing that I've been playing is Final Fantasy VII Remake to get ready for Rebirth. And I literally just finished the remake. And I can say that I do have an early code of Rebirth, and I've just started playing it now. My quick impression so far is that they've really improved like the UI. It's a lot cleaner. I really like the changes that they've made to the combat system. It's very similar to the first game, of course. You still have materia that you can link together and you can go back and forth between your different characters. But the combat feels a lot faster, a lot smoother. And it looks really bloody good. I'm playing it a lot on my PlayStation Portal as well. So I'll have more to say on Rebirth probably next week in the next podcast. But I did like Final Fantasy VII Remake. I know that there is a little bit of contention about some of the changes that they made to the original Final Fantasy VII. But I thought it was all right. It did drag on at times a little bit. But I'm really looking forward to smashing out a lot of Rebirth. And Rob, that's what I've been playing. So I've been playing a lot of games for once.
Yeah, man, that's awesome. It's good to get some time in.
Important, so finally, let's talk about viewer questions. Of course, if you have any viewer questions, let us know in the comments below. As Rob said, Andre T. Gouveia, I think that's how you pronounce your name, did ask about Elden Ring. But also did say, Rob, congratulations on the baby, bro. Love this podcast. I hope it never ends. I'll be rooting for you against Costa, man. Wish you the best in the camp. And then, asked if you were excited about the Elden Ring DLC. Next up, we had Rabbit420 said, which console do you think is the best for RPGs and FPS games, and which handheld or on-the-go console would you recommend? Rob, what do you reckon for RPGs and FPS games? What console?
Console means no computer, eh?
Yeah. I mean, the answer is PC. If we're going to say RPGs, you have to play on a PC.
I like, depends what you're into. I like I don't know what the best is for RPGs. They're kind of the same, much the same.
It depends what kind of RPGs. Like if you like the Bethesda style RPGs and you got Game Pass, Xbox is probably a good choice, and they've got Obsidian under their wing. But then PlayStation, if you like JRPGs, it's really hard to say. But the best answer is PC, because PC, you're getting literally everything. PlayStation keeps bringing their games to PC. Everything you can mod the games if you want to. So PC is probably the better answer. But on the go console, I love my PlayStation Portal, man. I don't know why. I freaking love it. It's the best thing ever. So I'm just going to say that. You don't have any, aside from your Switch, you don't have any handhelds, do you?
No, the only handheld I want that my wife will let me have is the Steam Deck. They don't even sell them here in Australia yet.
Because it's so expensive here. You have to freaking get them imported.
No, that's not the reason why she won't let me buy them. It's because she reckons I won't put it down.
Yeah,
I'll just be...
That's true.
Like holding it every time I'm not at my computer. And I can see that. So I probably would be like that. So...
You could just buy if the money's not the issue, you buy that or an ROG Ally. But I can see why she doesn't want you to buy one.
Yeah.
Next question that we've got is from Techloid DNB. Rob is correct, referring to a past joke. And congrats on the kid. I'm waiting for my first one. Any tips for having a kid?
Mate, don't try to be perfect. Okay? Don't try to be perfect, because for myself, looking in hindsight, I would have done a million things differently for my first child than what we do now. Yeah. But it is what it is. Like, that's not how life is. That's not how experience works. And don't try to be perfect. Just enjoy the experience.
Fair.
I'm really curious what I was correct about. I know it's right because I'm generally correct.
No, that was the joke, right? I think in a podcast episode, you were like, I just want people to say Rob is correct and Rob is right. Doesn't matter about what he's talking about. And I think that was a reference to that very old joke. So this guy's been following us for a while, if he knows that reference. And final question, MMArcade. Question for both of you. MMArcade. Would you rather have to fight a chicken every time you enter a car, or fight a sword-trained adult orangutan once a year? Rob.
that's I like these questions, but that one's stupid, because obviously I'm going to fight the chicken.
Yeah.
Because I don't think I'm getting out of that sword-trained orangutan, man.
Dude, orangutans are crazy on their own, let alone one trained with a sword.
Yeah, I'm not getting out of that fight, so I'll fight the chicken every time I get in my car. I start taking public transport.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, like we're pretty good in Australia with our public transport system. So we can take a train everywhere or even a bus, even though they're not as reliable. But Rob, that was episode 32 of the MMArcade podcast. You need to get some sleep. You need to rest up. And we'll be back for next week.
Yeah. I want to say sorry to everybody that had to listen to my snuffly voice. Mate, I was going downhill. Like by the end of the episode, I was good.
I was like deleting segments as we went through. I'm like, Rob's not going to be able to last through this one.
I'm barely getting through it. So I'm glad we got it out though. We are back, and we are looking to keep the consistency train going. I think Jonny's going to be moving.
Yeah, I mentioned that when you went to the bathroom.
We may have to play around with next week's episode, but we're back. We're back. I want to say thank you to all the love and supporters and all our Discord members that jumped on, wish me luck, wish me support, stuck around, because I do know we had a month or two where we couldn't put out any episodes together anyway because of the fight and stuff, but that's all done.
Yep.
Thank you for all the love and support, guys. Thank you for the subscriptions. Tell your friends about it and the likes, but I'm going to go take a Codral or something.
Take care, guys. We'll see you next week.